The ground beneath Florida is dissolving. Not slowly, not metaphorically. Right now, underneath houses, roads, and backyards, the limestone is collapsing and taking everything above it with it. That's just fact number 15. Guys, here are 18 reasons Florida is the most geographically insane state in America. Number 18. The highest point in Florida is shorter than most highway overpasses. Florida's highest natural point is Britton Hill, 345 feet above sea level. That's the lowest high point of any state in America. Delaware tops out at 448 feet, Louisiana at 535. Florida is flatter than both. If you climbed to Britton Hill and told someone you were at Florida's mountain summit, they'd think you were joking. They'd be right, technically, but you'd still be standing at the highest point in the state. Number 17. The state is still rising out of the ocean. Florida is geologically young, and it's still growing. The limestone bedrock absorbs water and builds up sediment, slowly pushing the peninsula upward. Scientists estimate Florida rises about 6 inches vertically every century. You're not standing on finished land. You're standing on land that's still being made. Number 16. Lake Okeechobee is half the size of Rhode Island. Florida's largest natural lake covers 730 square miles, roughly half the size of Rhode Island. The Seminole people called it Okeechobee, meaning big water. They weren't exaggerating. It's the second largest freshwater lake entirely within the United States after Lake Michigan. Average depth, 9 feet. A lake the size of a small state, and you could wade across most of it. Number 15. The ground beneath Florida is Swiss cheese. Florida sits on porous limestone bedrock riddled with underground cavities. When those cavities collapse, they create sinkholes, sometimes overnight with no warning. In 2013, a sinkhole opened beneath a house in Seffner and swallowed a man sleeping in his bedroom. His body was never recovered. This isn't a freak occurrence, it's what happens when you build a state on top of dissolving rock. Number 14. The Everglades is a river. A very, very slow river. Most people call it a swamp. It's not. The Everglades is a river, 60 miles wide, 6 inches deep, moving from Lake Okeechobee south to Florida Bay at roughly half a mile per day. It's called the River of Grass. Stand in it and the water is moving, technically. You just can't tell. It's the slowest moving river you'll ever stand in, and it covers an area larger than some countries. Number 13. Florida gets struck by lightning 1.4 million times a year. More lightning strikes than any other state, about 25 strikes per square mile annually. The combination of humid air, sea breezes, and afternoon thunderstorms turns Florida into a natural lightning rod every single summer. If you live in Florida, you're statistically more likely to be struck by lightning than almost anywhere else in America. The Sunshine State has a branding problem. Number 12. Florida has wild monkeys. Nobody planned this. In the 1930s, a tourboat operator released 6 rhesus macaque monkeys onto an island in Silver Springs to attract tourists. The monkeys swam to the mainland. They bred. They thrived. Today, over 300 wild monkeys roam Central Florida. Not native, not supposed to be there, completely unbothered by any of it. Florida has wild monkeys because a man in the 1930s thought it would be good for business. Real ones subscribe. Just saying. Number 11. The Florida Keys are connected by 42 bridges over open ocean. The Keys stretch 120 miles from the southern tip of Florida into the Gulf of Mexico. The overseas highway connects them with 42 bridges. The longest, the 7-mile bridge, runs 7 miles over open water. You're not driving near the ocean, you're driving over it. 1 lane in each direction, water on both sides, and the occasional pelican flying past your windshield. Number 10. Florida has more golf courses than Scotland. Over 1,250 golf courses, more than any other state in America and more than Scotland, the country that invented the game. Nearly 9% of Florida's land is dedicated to golf. That's roughly the size of Delaware given over entirely to fairways and sand traps. Flat terrain, year-round warmth, and an aging population will do that to a state. Number 9. One of Florida's rivers flows north. Most rivers in North America flow south. The St. Johns River goes the other direction, 310 miles from south to north, defying the conventional logic of how water moves. It works because Florida is so flat that there's almost no elevation change to pull it the other way. Stand on the bank and watch the water move the wrong direction. It's subtle, but it's real. Number 8. Florida is the only place on Earth where alligators and crocodiles share the same water. Alligators prefer fresh water. Crocodiles prefer salt water. The brackish waters of South Florida create a zone where both overlap, the only place on the planet where that happens in the wild. If you're swimming in a Florida lake and spot a large reptile nearby, congratulations. You get to figure out which one it is before it becomes relevant information. Number 7. Key West is closer to Cuba than to Miami. Key West sits 90 miles from Havana. It's approximately 160 miles from Miami, closer to a foreign country than to the rest of Florida. During the Cold War, this made Key West a critical military outpost. Today, it's a beach town full of tourists who don't realize they're geographically closer to the Caribbean than to the American mainland. Number 6. Florida has 663 miles of beaches. Walk every beach in Florida at 3 miles per hour without stopping, and it takes over 220 hours. That's more beach than California's entire Pacific coastline, and Florida has it on both sides, Atlantic and Gulf. The sand is different on each coast too. The Gulf side is whiter and finer. The Atlantic side is coarser. Same state, two completely different ocean floors. Number 5. Florida has been hit by more hurricanes than any other state. 120 direct hits since 1851. It's a flat peninsula jutting into warm water, exactly the conditions hurricanes need to survive and strengthen. Entire coastal towns have been rebuilt from scratch multiple times. People who live in Florida don't wonder if a hurricane is coming. They wonder which season it arrives in. Number 4. The Florida Reef is the third largest coral reef on Earth. Stretching 360 miles along the Florida Keys, it's the third largest barrier reef system in the world, behind only Australia's Great Barrier Reef and the Belize Barrier Reef. Over 500 species of fish, 40 species of coral. Most people drive over it on the way to Key West without knowing it's there. Go 20 feet underwater and it's one of the most biodiverse marine ecosystems on the planet. Number 3. Florida has over 1,000 freshwater springs pumping 8 billion gallons of water per day. More freshwater springs than any other state. They push up from underground aquifers, some crystal clear, some murky, all of them ancient. The largest, Wakula Springs, discharges 250 million gallons per day on its own. The water you're looking at has been underground for thousands of years. It's seeing sunlight for the first time in longer than recorded history. Number 2. Florida is only 20 million years old. The Appalachian Mountains are 480 million years old. Florida didn't exist when dinosaurs roamed the earth. It was underwater. The entire state emerged from the ocean roughly 20 million years ago. Geologically, that's practically yesterday. It's still rising, still forming, still unstable underneath. The most populated subtropical peninsula in America is also one of the youngest pieces of land in North America. Number 1. No point in Florida is more than 60 miles from saltwater. 1,350 miles of coastline. Water on 3 sides: the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Straits of Florida. 60 miles from coast to coast at the widest point. That's shorter than the drive from Los Angeles to San Diego. Every fact on this list traces back to this one. Florida is a narrow, flat, geologically young peninsula surrounded by ocean, barely above sea level, and still being built by the sea that's been trying to reclaim it for millions of years. That's why the ground dissolves. That's why the storms come. That's why the river flows the wrong way and the monkeys swam to the mainland and the alligators share the water with crocodiles. Florida isn't weird despite its geography. It's weird because of it. Subscribe. Next one we go somewhere that makes Florida look stable.